All right, I guess I'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of April 15th of the Simsbury Technology Task Force. And we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. All right. Since we don't have a quorum, we're going to skip the minutes and we'll deal with them next month. And our next agenda item is the IT policies review. And hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at the remote access policy.
I found it comfortable.
I agree.
I had only one question, and that is, have we had any issues with people not being able to live within the policy?
No, I mean, where this has really come into play is with, basically just starting social media accounts. So, from time to time, Wendy knows we'll get requests from various boards and commissions that are interested in creating their own account. And that, per this policy, goes through the Board of Selectmen. If it's a town department that wants to create a social media account, that goes through the town manager. So that's really where this has come into play. And I don't think we've really had any issues. I think we've actually referred to it a number of times, and it's been very helpful to have it. I will say that. And it's, one of our newer policies. So it hopefully is in good shape as is. But I don't, unless Rick, you can think of anything, I think it's been pretty useful for us.
Yep. No, I agree.
At a time when political correctness and the opportunity to say something that will be interpreted incorrectly or post something that will be interpreted incorrectly, a policy like this is really critical.
I had a question on one part of this, and I don't know if it's for this, if it really goes here, but on, where is that? Hold on. I just had it on my page. Just give me. So on the cut there under section 6, content management, communicating as an official town position on social media. There's a little paragraph in here. It's any social media account on website bearing the name of the town of Simsbury, but that is not an official account or website of the town, shall display a disclaimer indicating that it is not an official account or website of the town. Now, Melissa, you probably know about this. We've complained about a website that's out there. It's a political site, and it's spoofing kind of that it represents the town of Simsbury because it uses the Simsbury logo, the crest. And it came up to Maria at one point, and I think she reached out to the attorney because you're not allowed to use that logo unless you're a sanctioned Simsbury site. And it doesn't, so I guess my point is, like, what do we do? I don't think we can be the police, but what do we do if there's sites that are trying to fake out and pretend that they're part of the town? Because it's really not appropriate. And that's part of that paragraph. Like, I'm not sure. And maybe I should follow up, Melissa, with Maria and Bob to see if we've ever reached back out to them. Because it uses our logo. Anyone could think it's a town site.
Yeah, and that's actually two issues, because, like you said, the town seal, I think it's actually in statute. I don't know if it's by local charter or by statute, but the town clerk is technically the keeper of the seal. So anytime someone wants to use our seal, they have to make a formal request to the town clerk. So that's, that would be one quote unquote violation. And then, per this policy, if someone's representing themselves as the town and they're not, that's so, the mechanism by which we would, address it, I'm not entirely sure, other than to, explain that they need to not use the seal unless they've received permission. But yeah, maybe that's more a question of, like, how do we logistically go about addressing it?
Yeah, what are the provisions for enforcement?
Yeah, that's actually exactly.
Mhm.
And I mean, I have a screenshot. I don't know if you need to see it, but it shows a picture of the farms. It shows the logo. It says Simsbury CT Politics. So it looks, and when I go to either the police page, it has the same crest on it. So, if you read on it, you would know that it's not the town, but anybody coming across it might think it's initially affiliated. So that was just one thing. And the other thing that I wanted to ask about, and I'm more susceptible to this as an elected official. So some of us get, social media harassment. And sometimes people post kind of inappropriate things on like the Simsbury police page to comment on something. And I don't know if there's a policy like about delete for the startup, what pages that the committees or town puts up there on things that you can like legally decide to hide as comments and things like that. And I don't know if it falls into this group, but it is a issue for a lot of people out there, including myself.
Well, I mean, the problem with that is you run into some First Amendment stuff, and
I know,
and the framework of this policy was really geared towards staff, right, and employees of the town, right. This is part of I believe it's part of the employee manual, and this is really geared towards anybody working on the town's behalf and what they can and cannot do. So, an outside entity, I'm not sure that we could really point to this and have a legal standing. One, obviously it's public, but it's not really out there for that purpose. The content that people are scraping off of our website and reusing on other websites. I don't know if we have a copyright on our website. I'm going to look now. But that, copyright infringement is definitely something that's enforceable, and we could go after, sites not using our marks, using the town's marks inappropriately.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking, and if we have the police department has a page, right, or the Spirit Council has a page, and if somebody puts something like a comment on there that's offensive, are they allowed to, you're not really supposed to delete people's comments, or like, so is that just, as it happens, those owners decide what to do with it?
I wonder if there's a way that we could identify some language for like a moderator's role, right? And then I think if the pages were published as moderated groups, right? And then people would have an understanding that all the content posted, with the right language, would be subject to the moderator's approval, but I mean, all of that free speech stuff I'm horrible with. So, I'm a huge proponent of free speech, but I wouldn't have the foggiest of an idea of legally how to go about empowering a moderator.
Yeah.
Well, one of the problems that happened a few years back is that Trump tried to block some Twitter users, and the court said you can't do that. So I'm not sure that you can block people.
Right.
But yes, I think moderating, as long as that stayed up front, I think it would be a fair usage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not even to block somebody, but just to hide something that might prove offensive.
I feel like I've seen content that has been moderated out, and you'd see Mike Doyle and this content, or this comment has been removed due to blah, 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 but I have no clue if that runs afoul of.
Well, I think police department would probably have cause to do some of those because they could create a public hazard.
Potentially, but again, the the challenge with all of these sites are, someone has to manage and monitor,
Yeah.
and that, depending on the traffic level, I'm guessing it's not that great, but I could be very wrong. It's not like a Simsbury Moms Unite Facebook group, with, tens of thousands of followers. So it's probably not a massive burden, but it's still a burden on probably already overburdened and overtaxed.
Yeah. Well,
staffers.
I just remembered, I brought this up in a conversation, I think, with Spare Council at one point. And I'm not sure, but I think the pages, or a lot of the pages, have like you're saying, kind of, if you do this on our page, we're going to hide your comment or something like that, which is, I think, somebody told me like Richard Dick Blumenthal has that on his page. So he has the legal, he's warned you if you're going to say something nasty, he's going to hide it or something like that. So I guess that's something we could look into, or see if or Melissa knows if the pages already state something like that.
Yeah, so what we did was when we did this policy, we had a long conversation about this it was a subgroup of the Board of Selectmen at the time. And,
okay,
we were really, where am I here? Subsection D page, the last page of the policy, where it says responses from the town. So one of the things we did was we tried to say, we didn't intend for social media accounts to be a forum. And that makes us kind of maybe sound boring, but for all these reasons you're saying, we wanted to be careful about, how much dialogue, how much back and forth happened on a social media page. So, for example, I know our generic the town of Simsbury Facebook page, I don't think we have it enabled so that people can comment. In other words, I don't think people can comment, and therefore we aren't able to have sort of a back and forth with someone. If, I manage our Twitter account, I from time to time will get an inquiry by direct message, and then if it's a simple answer, I will give it. If not, I will engage that person by email or in another way, so that, for FOIA purposes and for, just simplicity's sake, we take it to a different medium. But so that was kind of, so section D at the top of page 6, 6 of the PDF, sorry.
Yep.
Users shall not provide lengthy responses or engage in debate through social media forum. If comments provided by the public require comprehensive response, those responses should be provided by private message, email, mail, or telephone. So we were really trying to limit the amount of kind of back and forth, I guess, for those reasons. But
okay.
I would have to go do an inventory of each of our accounts to make sure that they're all set up that way, so that there isn't that potential for lengthy back and forth. But it's a good point.
I think that wording is really good to prevent the forum aspect that you mentioned earlier, Melissa. I thought that wording was really well done.
It is. Okay, so I'm not going to suggest. So but it sounds like if the pages or the, I guess most of them are pages. If they don't allow anyone to comment or write on it, then there's no issue, right? And I'm not sure which ones do or don't. But
I have to double check and make sure, that I imagine they're probably all set up a little differently, but it would be good to be consistent with that. So we can definitely look at that.
And then the second part is like, you don't want to go against First Amendment, but if there is something really offensive, is there the capability for someone to hide that comment, which people might be doing today? I just, not on that much. So, but now I know you're the Twitter person.
Maybe I shouldn't have disclosed that.
You outed yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing too is we try to be consistent across the platform. So, anything that goes to our website, e-subscribers, we try to, we have that linked directly to push to our Facebook and Twitter feed. So we're trying to have everything be consistent across, across the platform. So they're not, first of all, so it's not, sending out dueling messages, but also just to make it consistent. So that's, yeah.
Okay.
I think Mike brought up an interesting point that ought to be followed up on, and that is the town of Simsbury website itself copyrighted? If not, it sure should be. And I don't know who would be responsible for that, but I think it's something that's fairly easy to do.
I don't know.
There is not a disclaimer on the bottom of the site. Usually that is right where it's parked.
Yeah, right to that point, all that information on a town website or any government website is public record, public knowledge. So the copyright really would stem on pretty much the any town official document that warrants that, like the logo. But it's pretty much on these sites that you see it's public information.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it from that. I'm always coming at this from the business angle, not really the public sector.
Thanks, Rick.
But
Welcome.
still, I mean, the town seal, that's got to be some type of trademark, or it has to be protected somehow.
Yeah, it is.
It
And
is. Yeah.
And it comes from the state mandate on that. It's handed down that way. And I think Melissa said it, or maybe Wendy said it, is the town clerk is the key holder to that. So that's how it works out there.
But who enforces illegal use of it or improper use of it? I don't want to use the word illegal, but
So in the past, there's been a couple of times that it's happened like that. And Wendy's correct too, that there is, a site now. Usually it takes legal, guidance on that, contacting them, so on and so forth, and going that route. That's the only way, really. But we've really probably one time was really a really tricky one to get to, but that was handled by council.
Well, either that or set up a robot and keep sending messages into their,
Oh no,
what's DNS?
we're in a DOS service now.
I believe there was a computer called HAL in a movie once. I think the HAL mailbot is got to come to life, Al. You got to start.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
That's right.
Do you know how they got that name for HAL?
I forget what the acronym was.
IBM -1 on each of the letters.
Say that again.
IBM -1 on the letters,
Huh.
or +1.
Funny. That's interesting.
Yep. Yeah, plus one. Yeah, +1, -1. Well, I went through the social media policy trying to look at it's technology. So of course all the terminology is constantly changing and all of that. I didn't find anything really egregious or feeling like it was really stale or out of date or out of touch. And I didn't think that there was anything as far as platforms or anything like that that wasn't covered in the terminology that we have in the current policy.
I agree. I think it was broadly based so that it would encompass any new platforms that arise. I just heard of one today called Racket that's come up.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, hearing that there are no proposed changes of the policy, do we leave this open for? I remember there was a comment from John who said he was okay with the policy. I hope I'm remembering that email correctly. It was a week or so ago. Melissa, did you receive any other correspondence from any of the other task force members?
No, I didn't. So what we can do is we can let this stand, I guess, and then if any other members who aren't present had anything that they wanted specifically to bring up to talk about, then we can always, come back and address it and try to incorporate whatever comments they had.
Yeah, Liz Peterson has a lot of passion for social media. So I'm curious to see what her comments are on this. And, I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to be heard. So yeah, let's leave that going. Do we think that there's a need, Wendy, Melissa, for some way to empower the stakeholders of some of these sites to have tools to be able to have guidance on how to manage these pages or platforms or whatever you want to call them?
Well, my response would be, I guess I don't know how often, if anyone's having issues on their sites, like if they, as Melissa said, do they allow anybody to even put anything out there? And then B, if they do, and it's offensive of some sort, do they know what tools they can use to hide it, legally? Those would be my questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because it always comes up. If somebody does something, can I block it? Can I hide it? Can I, delete it? Like, you don't know what to do. And it's really tricky.
Right. Well, hopefully, the common social media platforms have, moderator functions built into them.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the platforms we're using are for these various town entities, but hopefully there's.
Well, most of a lot of the boards and commissions are now, everyone's asking for a Facebook page, right? And so that's just out there.
Right.
Like unprotected, but it could be, I don't know what protection is, or if they put that comment on it, a standard comment, this is what we're going to do if you do this.
Right.
Kind of warning.
Yeah, we can definitely follow up. I think that's maybe a town attorney question in terms of, right, like if what tools would staff have to, either hide a comment, remove a comment under, First Amendment and FOIA and all that stuff. So we can definitely check with him on that.
Okay.
Yeah, or even just having some templated correspondence ready to go, to be able to communicate. Yeah, I don't know. I hope this doesn't happen often, but if it does, it's painful to think that we'd have to go to legal every single time we find an instance like this, right? We should be able to draft something that would be reusable, and leave the legal time spent dealing with more challenging issues.
Yeah, it's a good idea to have a just to be prepared in the event that it does happen, even if it hasn't yet. So.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like we have something hanging out there already. So maybe there's an opportunity to build a boilerplate template for that that issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can definitely look into that.
Oh, I gotta pull the agenda back up, but I think all we have on the agenda, so I guess next steps and agenda items for the next meeting.
I have a question that Rick or Jason might be able to answer. One of the things I saw someplace else is the forwarding of email that essentially does not come into the in-house, so that if you set a forwarding address in, for example, Google Gmail, you can set a forwarding address so it never gets into Simsbury in a sense. So is that kosher, or is there a limitation on something like that? Because it basically means that certain pieces of knowledge never make it into the system and are siphoned off beforehand. Does that make any sense, what I'm asking?
I don't think I'm following.
If you have an email account, in a sense, Simsbury, any of the users in Simsbury, if that email account is essentially set to forward automatically, then the knowledge never came into Simsbury and it goes to the forwarding address. So essentially it's siphoning off information that may or may not be appropriate.
Harold, are you talking about town employees?
Any internal user, yes.
Okay. So why would they have a forwarding address set up?
I don't know that, but if it is there, if it is able to be done, essentially information coming to them or addressed to them would never make it into the system and would essentially go to the forwarding address.
So you're just talking email traffic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that the town has to adhere by that. So in any of those scenarios, whether they be done in that forwarding fashion, it is archived automatically when it comes in to our mail system. So whether it's being forwarded, it's being archived.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that then.
And that was one of the main reasons that we went to a new archiver. And we control that.
From a Google Workspace perspective, we have, for our entire organization, we have forwarding turned off. You can forward to internal, State Line Propane, other accounts inside State Line Propane, but you can't forward it to anywhere outside to the outside world. Now it's just a simple little policy setting right in the Workspace.
And maybe that's what's needed for the town.
Well, to Rick's point, it's already as it hits the mail servers, it's being archived.
Yeah, but if it's archived, then potentially the person to whom the information is being sent is unaware of that information.
Possibly, if the forwarding's turned on and it's deleting the message out of their inbox. But I don't know if. What's the platform, Rick? Are you guys on Google or are you still on Exchange? Mr. Bizzano?
We're on Exchange.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you can definitely disable that stuff on Exchange.
The town's on Office 365 now. The Exchange server is being shut down.
Oh, there you go. That's
Right, we're in the cloud, yeah.
And Jason, you're on Google on your side, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I know for sure on the business side for Google you can do it. I would imagine on the education side, Jason has that same tool. And Office 365, it would definitely was an ability in Exchange not to have forwarding. So I would imagine that it carries forward in Office 365. Whether it's enabled or not.
Well, I'm not talking about the forwarding that I might do once I've received a message, but the automatic forwarding that happens before I even see it.
Yeah, I understand. And like I said, there's definitely, in the former mail system, they definitely had the ability to set the policy so that it did not allow that at all, or they could put constraints on it. I know the Google platform that I'm on, I have the ability to control whether users are allowed to do that and shape it to meet the company's policies and requirements. So I would imagine Office 365 has that same capability. Like I said, I don't know what Rick and his team have done to, or even manage any of those policies within Office 365. But definitely something to consider. Anybody have anything else? Well, as the acting moderator of this discussion, I'm hesitant to propose any other action for the next meeting, so I think I'll leave that to the chair to work on outside of our normal meeting windows.
Yeah, and thank you for stepping up as your vice chair.
Happy to.
Appreciate that.
Guess I'd be looking to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Do we need, well, do we have to, because we
Oh,
don't
that's
have,
true. We don't even have a quorum. So thank you. Good night.
We are adjourned.
All right. You guys all
Good
be
night,
well.
everybody.
Take care.
okay, see you guys.
Thanks, everyone.